guys just want to move into the booth, everyone come really close, become friendly with each other, get to know your person next to you. We just got to make sure we keep the aisles clear. We're going to be doing a Q&A in a few minutes with some of the writers on the Old Republic. If you have a question, I'm going to be wandering through the crowd, so just stop me and we'll chat.
And my name's Rob. I'll be making sure that your question isn't too crazy for one of our guys to answer. Let's introduce each writer. Daniel Erickson, the fourth stage writer. Daniel.
Can you hear him?
Can you guys hear me? There. How's that? That's better. Okay. Well, let's go through each of the writers here. This is Daniel Erickson, lead writer. Daniel, do you want to talk about what you do before they talk about what they do?
I'm the lead writer.
I think that says it all, doesn't it? I was trying to think maybe the Emperor's Emperor or something like that. Jessica, tell them what you've worked on in the game. I think is kind of cool.
Can you hear me? Oh, yes, you can. I've done a lot of the World Quest content that all the classes get to play on various worlds.
That's Jessica SWTOR. And Hall Hood. Woo!
Hello, I'm Hall Hood. I'm the primary writer on the Jedi Knight class. I co-wrote the Smuggler class, and I wrote the Taro 5 Flashpoint that we're showing off this weekend.
Awesome. All right.
It's his fault you're dying.
All right. Do we have a question here?
I got a question here from, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Michael, and I've been playing KOTOR 2 religiously since they came out. My question is, I'm very interested to know in the writing, in the development, in the gameplay, are there any major ethical dilemmas that the players are going to have to face? I mean, BioWare is famous for its stories, morality systems, and KOTOR 2 had a huge one, many actually. Does Knights of the Old Republic, have anything similar to that?
So the question was about the ethical dilemmas and good versus evil choices in the Old Republic. So absolutely, the Old Republic is, if anything, it is the most hard to make decisions of any game that's ever been done by BioWare, simply for the factor that there is no save button. So think of every tough decision you've ever had to make in a BioWare game, and imagine there's no reload, there's no going back, you're 120 hours in. One of the great things we have from the statistics we can pull is where people stop conversations. And you can always see where the really hard decisions come from, because somebody will be in that conversation for 20 minutes, which means we know from testing what happened is the person actually put their hands away from the keyboard and just stared at the screen. Or paced, and spent their time going, okay, I gotta get this right. What am I gonna do?
Dave, Hall, do you want to talk about some of the specific moral dilemmas you've written to?
I was just going to say that the other scenario that occurs is when you've got a group who comes to a major moral decision and proceeds to argue with each other in chat for the next 20 minutes while they figure out what to do. So that's one of the other cool things that can happen.
Yeah, and that's something we've seen a lot, even in just the in the flashpoints and that sort of stuff, but especially out in the group World Quest. You get people out there, and you'll see the chat just light up, especially if you've got that one guy in your party who keeps trying to go against the party, and as soon as he comes to that vote node, people see it coming. You see that chat light up, they're like, don't do it! Don't! And then the rolls come.
Alright, I got a question for Greg here.
Hi, I was curious. I'm a huge fan of the KOTOR games. First question is, will we see Revan kind of in any way in this, or will we not?
So we're not getting into specifics. I will say what we've kind of come out and said is all KOTOR, and when we say KOTOR, we mean KOTOR 1, 2, not the fan fiction so much, but all KOTOR questions will be answered in the Old Republic.
Who's next? Anyone next? David? Good.
I got one right here.
He's just making friends.
Sorry, I'm just being friendly.
Teleported over there, didn't you?
Yes.
All right, that was really
Sonic ran him.
So I was wondering,
What's your name?
oh, my name's Mike. So I was wondering, the stories in Star Wars movies, they tend to involve the fall or the redemption of a character, aka Anakin in the movies. Will that storyline, not specifically the storyline, but that type of story come into play in it?
Yes. Yes, it will. So, I mean, that's one of the classic hallmarks of any Star Wars story, and particularly any of the Jedi stories, but the Sith as well. I mean, that's an important thing, and we have to explore it. Absolutely.
And on that note, one of the nice things about the Old Republic is because we have the ability to do class stories separately, you can actually do the Jedi story, the smuggler story. So things like the Jedi that really are about that temptation, we can really drill into that in a way that we couldn't if we were just trying to do a generic thing that worked for all classes.
Hi, I'm Zach. What were some of the really big difficulties you had coming up with the storyline?
Difficulties we had in coming up with a story. I wouldn't call them difficulties. I would call them challenges, and fun challenges at that. Keeping in with the continuity of the entire Star Wars universe, there's a million different ways they're going with it. Got to keep all that in mind. It helps that our timeline is a lot earlier, but got to keep that in mind. For me, when writing the world quests, I have to always keep in mind how every single class will react to a situation. The Knight's going to react a lot different than the Smuggler, and so on and so forth. That's actually a fun kind of challenge because you get to think about how everyone's going to do, give them all sorts of different opportunities.
I'd say the other one is just the technical one that when we first came up with the idea, what we thought was, okay, taking what is probably the most complicated scripting system in all of games, which is a BioWare RPG, and moving that to a multiplayer environment was going to be difficult. This was a massive, massive understatement. Trying to take all of this and put it into a server frame and then know that all the people are going to be doing it around, and you don't want to feel like everybody's doing the same thing you're doing. And still have your heroic stuff. And as Jessica said, so we'll write these great things where we're like, okay, there's these poor babies and whatever, and they're sad, and you should help them. But the problem is that you run right into the Smuggler. He's like, and? You're like, all right, well, back up a bit.
All right, we have another question. Where's David? Go for it.
I'm being social again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, I wanted to know if we're going to see HK-47.
Have you not been watching the trailers? So HK is clearly in there. He shows up in the trailers. In what format and what he's doing, we haven't really seen. But yes, as we touched before, that's another one of them, right? So all the KOTOR questions. Where is HK? What's he been up to? Is he still kind of a dick?
Hallmark of all BioWare games is that everything you touch, every decision you make has a lot of weight behind it, and there's always a really big impact. But in MMOs, it's really not so easy to get that impact across, and a lot of the time in MMOs, there's really a plot at all. But you're BioWare, and I know that you're going to work around that. I'd like to know how the player's decisions will be able to impact the world around them.
So this is one I guess I'll field on there. The question was, how does your player impact go if how does the player impact work when you're in an MMO and you can't have those same decisions? What we actually did is, what you're going to find when you play the Old Republic is it feels basically exactly the same as when you were playing a BioWare game before. We do a lot of very small instancing. We don't want to separate the player base all the time, but that moment when you go to fight Vader, we actually don't want you to be standing there watching 6 other Lukes whacking Vader, or the other 3 Lukes that were like, Vader, Dad, this is awesome, let's team up. So we give you private space, both for your class quests and for the big world endings. When you go to the big world endings and you're going to choose what happens to Alderaan, when you're going to go in and fight the king and you're going to do all that stuff, that one you're going to take your whole party. And actually, when you go face your dad, you can actually take your whole party as well. You just have to deal with the fact that you've got your party with you and you're trying to be like the dramatic moment and the smuggler's got his pants off. So, that's your choice. There's a reason that in the movies, Amon doesn't come to these things. But
it's because his invitation got lost in the mail. That's what it was. The only thing that I would add to that is that we always make sure that the stakes of your adventures feel impossibly high. It's always life or death. It's always the fate of the galaxy resting on your decision. So you're going to feel like a major hero. all the time. That's always been one of our imperatives, is to make sure no player feels like a nobody, that what they're doing doesn't matter, that oh well, everybody's just doing this. No. It's very personal, and it's huge.
And it's another reason that we had to actually go off and go into some sort of private space and stuff, because what's never going to happen, and you're used to in the MMO world, is you're never going to go off and fight that big last boss and really finish up your story and then wander through that same area later and see him. Right? You're never going to be like, hey, didn't I kill? Aren't we in love? Oh, is that storyline over? You don't know who I am anymore yet. Never going to happen.
Are you dating that other smuggler now? What's up?
Your question? Anything else?
Hi, I'm wondering exactly how decisions in a group dialogue scenario will affect the content that group then goes on to experience. Is that limited to individual alignment points, or could a decision within a group go on to affect, the rest of the instance or the flashpoint that they're experiencing?
Okay, sorry. So the question was about when you're making group choices in dialogue, and you're making a big, light side or dark side decision, how do we handle it with your alignment? No matter who wins the vote, you get credit for what you would have done. If you wanted to be a light guy and the rest of your group was like, we're going to be jerks, you're still going to get your light side points. We're not going to let them give you dark side points you didn't want. With that said, I just want to add on a personal note that the multiplayer dialogue system is one of my favorite features in the entire game. It is so much fun having other people in a group and getting to play off of each other and getting to maybe even sometimes have a little schizophrenic conversation where some of you are being real jerks and some of you are being real nice, everyone working together. Yes, Hall and I played one where Hall was the good guy and I was the bad guy, and we were throwing this guy for a loop.
Normally it's the other way around.
Yeah, good smuggler, bad Jedi is an interesting combo group. And so you get your alignment points that you pick, but the story is still going to go where the group went. So you may have content that you never got to see, because guess what? We respect your intentions. The Galaxy said, hey man, you tried to do right, we're going to give you your light side points. But guess what? The captain's dead. So have some light side points, but you better deal with this at this point. The nice part about that is in that plot and a lot of other plots, other little things come in as well later, so you can still try to redeem yourself, make it back. But if you're in a whole party of just dark side leaving kids, one of the things that I always look at when I look at the piece is, if you look at the classic trilogy, Han is clearly dark side leaning when they get him. He is greedy, he does everything for himself. Everything that traditionally in a BioWare game would have been a dark side choice, he takes. But his whole damn party is light side. And every time they come to any decision, he gets outvoted. So by the end, he's just given up. He's like, alright, screw it. My party plays light side.